Howdy, folks. Spencer here, and today I'll be breaking down the stats of the brand new Lamarr Class Temporal Operative Science Dreadnought. As always, chapters to each topic are listed down below. The Lamarr is going to be arriving on both PC and console this Thursday, October 17th, via the R&D and Duty Officer promo packs. Now, these promotional packs are really expensive, and the drop rate from them is not good. For your first 140 promo packs that you open, the chance to win a ship is 0.71%. And once you have opened 140 boxes without winning a ship, you hit the pity point and your chance to win goes up to 7.1%. So these ships are very expensive to obtain. On average, you're going to be looking at upwards of $200 to obtain just one of these promo ships for a single character. That's if you go the gambling route. There is, of course, a cheaper way to get them, and that is to just sell the promo packs that you buy with Zen for EC on the exchange and then directly buy the ship that you're interested in. And if you want to see more about that and the math behind it, I do have a video going over that, which I'll have linked down below. And before I get into the stats, as we saw with the leak of this ship a couple months ago, it is kit bashable with the Sovereign class variants in the game, and Thomas has confirmed that thanks to Pundus's work, it is indeed kit bashable with all of the other Sovereign variants. And heading over to the stats, this has a hull modifier of 1.3, shield mod of 1.35. It has a 4-3 weapon setup, which is common for the Science Dreadnoughts. It has a base turn rate of 7, which is also unfortunately standard for all of the Science Dreads. They all have pretty bad turn rates. For the Impulse mod, 0.17, inertia of 35, so this thing is going to be a bit of a brick to fly. Console-wise, 3 TAC, 3 Inge, and 5 Psi, 3 device slots. We'll go over the bridge officers in a moment. Power bonuses, +5 to each subsystem. And the blog here is not complete. There's a lot of missing information. But given that this is a Science Dreadnought, it would have the ability to run dual heavy cannons. It has a secondary deflector, and it does have a single hangar bay. And heading over to the bridge officer setup, we have a Commander Science with Temporal Operative, Lieutenant Commander Tactical with Miracle Worker, Lieutenant Commander Engineer, Lieutenant Universal, and Ensign Universal. For those of you familiar with Science setups, you'll recognize very quickly that this is a very, very poorly designed bridge officer layout on this ship. The Miracle Worker secondary spec doesn't make much sense. Miracle Worker secondary is terrible for Science builds. And given what we saw from this ship in Prodigy, I am very, very surprised that this is not an Intel secondary seat. That would have made much more sense than the Miracle Worker here. And this Lieutenant Commander Engineer, on top of that Lieutenant Commander TAC, is just too much forced non-size seating. This should have been a universal seat here instead of an engineer. And if they wanted to have an engineer, they could have had it as the ensign. The Lieutenant Commander plus Lieutenant Universal seat combo would have made much more sense. Basically, this should have been very similar to the Anorax, just with a Commander Temporal instead of that Lieutenant Intel seat. And as for comparisons, this is very, very similar to the Protostar that they released last year. The difference is the Lamarr has a Universal Ensign, and the Lamarr has the Miracle Worker on the Lieutenant Commander TAC, whereas the Protostar had it on the Inge. So the Protostar wasn't very popular for its bridge officer layout, and the same is going to hold true for the Lamarr. You're not buying this for the bridge officer layout. You're going to be buying this ship for the Space Barbie or the accessories. For the Admiralty stats, it's 38 TAC, 34 Inge, 54 Psi, and the special is 1.5 times crit rating from TAC and Inge. And heading over to the accessories, first up is the Universal Console Electromagnetic Echo Pulse Generator. By remodulating echolocation scanners used by Cetacean Ops and imbuing them with offensive properties, the Lamarr sends out an electromagnetic wave that echoes twice. The initial wave deals damage to nearby enemy targets of the Lamarr's choice. The effect ripples across space when colliding with chosen targets, who send out a second electromagnetic wave that damages other nearby enemy targets. The electromagnetic wave ripples again when colliding with these new targets, bouncing off of them to send out a third and final wave targeting any remaining enemies in the vicinity. Who would have thought that the Cetacean Echo Pulse could be as deadly as it is beautiful? Where's the tooltip? I don't understand why it's so hard for them to put tooltips in these blogs. We have no idea what the passive does, and we have no idea, what the numbers on this thing looks like. So this is something we'll have to just wait and see. Maybe it'll be something fun for a science build, but probably not a console that'll be, useful to everyone out there. Next up is the Starship Trait Starfleet Hopefuls. While this trait is slotted, activating Ensign Bridge Officer abilities will provide different bonuses depending on if they are engineering, tactical, or science officers. The Lamarr class was refitted stem to stern with the latest and advanced technology that the original Voyager encountered during her time in the Delta Quadrant, and then some. Starfleet Academy candidates try their best to learn and shine on their duties, helping bridge officers during their training mission. What does this actually do? What type of bonuses are we talking about? Why is it so hard for them to give us a damn tooltip? And next up are the brand new Hangar Pets, Nova Squadron. So these are fighter squadrons, and they're specialized in providing interference support by taunting enemy ships and increasing the chances of their allies in a 5-kilometer radius to evade fire. They are outfitted with phaser dual cannons, plasma beam arrays, phaser turrets, and photon torpedoes. They come capable of using both beam overload and torpedo spread firing modes. And like in most other Hangar Pets, they also have layered defense so that they have some immunity to torpits and warp core breaches. I mean, these might be fun to play around with, but on paper, I don't think these are going to beat any of the options we already have. But we'll find out once people actually have this and are able to test it properly. And lastly, the Lamarr does have a built-in special feature, which is the Infinity Support Craft. This is an experimental small vessel that has integrated temporal operative capabilities for an undercover rescue mission to save Redacted. Once launched, it will provide support fire for 60 seconds before cloaking away. It comes equipped with phaser weaponry and quantum torpedoes, and is capable of using Channeled Deconstruction 1 and Rapid Decay 1. So this is a neat feature. Again, it's baked right into the ship. Normally you would see these types of separation or pet summon pets as their own console, but this is baked right into the ship, which is good to see. I don't think it's going to do that much, but that is a nice perk to this ship. So ultimately, the Lamarr is just all around a bit disappointing to me. This is a ship that I was really looking forward to, but the bridge officer layout just really hurts the value of the ship. This is a poorly designed bridge officer layout. It doesn't make much sense for the current science meta, and the spec combo doesn't even make sense with what we saw this ship do in the show. Especially, you see the references to Redacted down below. This had a craft on it to go do covert missions. Why doesn't this have intel for the secondary? This ship would have been so much better with intel as the secondary. And if they had that lieutenant commander engineer as a universal, again, if this was basically just the Anorax with the lieutenant intel being replaced by a temporal operative commander, this would have been such a stronger offering. But instead, what they have here is basically just an alternative version of the Protostar. And for any of you that are looking at this ship, from a performance point of view, the way that they've set it up just is bad. So I can't really recommend the ship for any performance meta reasons. It very much feels like a Space Barbie ship. And I can't even really comment too much on the accessories because they've basically given us no information in the blog here. So we don't even know what the passives are on the console. We don't actually know what the trait does. All around, just a really disappointing blog here. And the ship again with that bridge officer layout. It's just so disappointing. But that's going to be it for today. So leave me a comment down below if you guys are going to pick this ship up, or if you're not going to now that you've seen the stats. Let me know what you think of it down below. And as always, thank you to all channel members and viewers for the continued support. See you guys around.